as online instructors, we're getting approached right now by a lot of different companies. So what do you look at and what do you look for in sorting through these online teaching platforms? Because most of them, like 90% of them, are going to be upstarts that are just starting out. A lot of them don't have a whole lot to promise us. A lot of them don't have a whole lot going on. So I'd like to hear your thoughts, and then I'd like to share some of my thoughts of what I look for on these platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I think I first initially just go to their website, and I feel like I have a good sense when I go to a website, and I can tell if it's just like some person who's put it together or if it's like a corporation or a company that's behind this platform. And if you go to a site like Udemy or Skillshare, you'll see that it's a pretty big production. And it's not just that they have a lot of courses on there, it's just the quality of the actual look and feel of the website. So that's the first kind of telling if it's something that I want to proceed with. There's a couple like Skill Success that I was telling a lot of people about recently because I made $400 on that in April, $1,000 in May. And so that one was started by one guy, though. I think he lives here in LA, this guy, Michael, and he has a little team, but he has figured out a way to promote the courses on Skill Success to some people. And that site is a little bit smaller. And so with that one, I talked to the person. So the first thing for me is looking at the website, and then I just reach out to people that I know online and see if you've put your courses on here or not. I'm in a couple of Facebook groups. The Passive Income Facebook group is a great place for people. If you see a new platform and you're wondering about it, just post a question. And if Dave or I or anyone else has put our classes on there and have had success or have not had success, then we'll let you guys know. And if no one I've talked to has made money from that platform, I typically won't spend the time actually putting my courses on there. Yeah, I don't know. What other things should people look out for?
Well, I agree with what you said about the taking a look at the site and seeing if the site looks established, looks credible, and that kind of thing. I mean, a lot of these online learning platforms are the same. They're very similar in look. So you have to dig a little bit, maybe do a little research on Google about the company name and see if they've had some press, some information about investment that's been made in the company, that kind of thing. But it is kind of it's kind of tricky because a lot of these sites will promise you things, but you don't know for sure if they're going to deliver. So we need to differentiate between two different types of sites. One is the self-hosted platform like Teachable, Thinkific. Are there any Zenler?
Zenler.
There's a couple like that.
Or like using your own, like a WordPress plugin to
or a
do it
WordPress
on your own
plugin.
site.
And this brings up the question that Australia Wow asked: why use other platforms rather than your own site? So what we're talking about is these marketplaces. Now, a marketplace is different. A marketplace is where they bring traffic, they bring new visitors, they bring new students to you. So it may be a central marketplace where everybody puts their courses up, and then that company drives traffic. So that's what I differentiate, and that's what I look at. Are you guys driving traffic? It's one of the questions I ask. How are you getting your traffic? How many members do you have right now? That kind of thing. It's always good to ask these kinds of questions instead of just putting up your stuff, randomly and hoping things happen, because your time is so valuable. I mean, I'm still trying to catch up to Phil on all the different platforms he's on. I've got my, I've got Udemy, I've got ULearning, I've got Thinkific and Teachable, but now I want, and by the way, 2 or 3 of those are not really, they're not quite yet activated as marketplaces. And then I want to get my stuff on Skillshare because that one is an existing ongoing site. And then I think I wish I could remember the name. There was another one I've been recently in touch with. They said they had something like 45,000 members and this kind of thing. So you always want to ask those questions. What's your traffic? How many members do you have? Where do you get your traffic? How do you generate your traffic? Because often that'll lead to them saying, oh, well, we have this big whatever, this audience from here, that's where our traffic comes from. And then that'll give you a good indication whether you should put your courses there or not. And the other question is, what types of courses are best suited for your audience? You know, you ask them that, because it would make sense to put up an underwater basket weaving class if nobody there swims, right?
Yeah, and those are all great questions to ask. So I think for people, you can literally go to these sites and find the contact information for support, or find out who the founder is, get in touch with them and ask these questions. I'll even go as far to ask them sometimes, what have other instructors done? How much money are instructors making on your platform? And if their platform is doing well, they'll brag about how much money people are making on their site. A lot of these sites, they are startups, and they'll tell me flat out, well, we're just starting and people haven't made any money. Some people give me not reports of other people's income, but they'll give me like an average or
you froze again.
Oh, am I back?
You're
Can
back.
You hear me? Sometimes people lie about these things. I've put my courses on a lot of platforms that have promised me that they have backing, that they have promotions, that yada, 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 and nothing's come to fruition with these platforms. So you have to be careful. The reason why I put my courses on these marketplaces and not just on my own site is that I have the content. They're opening me up to a brand new audience that I would never find, or it would be a lot harder and more expensive and timely to find this audience. So even Udemy has their 11 million students now. Skillshare has 4 or 5 million students. Skill Success, Amazon, they all have their different audiences, and some of them overlap, but some of them don't. And these platforms are hungry for content. They want our content to be put on their websites. And that's why this moment in time right now is amazing, because we have to take advantage of that, get our courses on these platforms before they blow up, while they're still young, while online education is growing. And I was just kind of thinking about the idea. I was trying to come up with a good way to explain this idea. And I was thinking about going to a bar and you're ordering a beer at the tap, and we're the provider of that beer. We sell our beer all over the country in all sorts of bars. There's lots of different bars that are starting up. It's cool to start a bar. You want to start a bar, but the big money makers are the ones that are providing the beer for all of these bars. And so we're the supplier of the actual content. And so we're going to be making more money than the actual platforms themselves right now. And when there's new platforms popping up, I know it's cool for people. A lot of people want to start their own platform. Even big companies want to start their own platform, but they have to find their content somewhere, and we have that content. So that's exciting for me right now.
Yeah, and riding along on what you just said, Phil, it's important to know who we are in this universe and this ecosystem, and who we are in relation to the platforms. And just like you're saying, we provide the content, and it's easy to get caught up in the recent changes with Udemy, the pricing changes, the reviews, all these things that are changing and happening, and think maybe less of ourselves as instructors, because this company is kind of dictating and saying, oh, your courses should be priced here, at a certain lower amount. But the bottom line is our content is ours. It's what we have. It's the uniqueness that we bring to the table that they just can't duplicate. And they can't really hire it out either, because if they hire it out, who are they going to go to hire it out to? Us, right?
Yeah.
So we need to understand.
Expensive.
It is. We need to understand our value in this equation, and not necessarily, like, oh, we're going to fight for, increasing our prices on YouTube. Not in that way, but in the way that we do place our content on good platforms and spread it out and diversify. And also in the sense that think about ways where you can charge more for your content and put it on a self-hosted platform like Thinkific or Teachable. For example, I have a course that I co-instructed with a young man who's doing really well in the t-shirt business. And his original course we have up on Udemy, but his advanced course we're going to sell for $397 because the advanced concepts in that course are what led him to now he's making about $5,000 a week with this business. And he doesn't want to just give that away even at $50 a pop. That's too low, right? Because he knows the content and the concepts in that course can accelerate somebody's income dramatically and very quickly. So we're going to offer that to students in a variety of different ways on Teachable, for example, or on Thinkific. We're going to offer it where we can set the price, where we can charge what we believe it's worth. And by doing that, you know, it takes a heck of a lot less sales at $397 a pop, even splitting it up right among two people, than it does at 20 or even $10 a pop, you know, when you net everything out. So keep in mind that your value is really up here, regardless of what, you know, a platform may say about the value of your courses. Your value is still way up here, and your experience and your talent and your knowledge has tremendous value. So be aware of that, and always be looking for that other option, that other alternative where you can market your stuff for a lot more. And part of that has to do with sales funnels. Part of it has to do with how you structure everything to make it work and to reach an audience. That's a whole nother topic. You know, how do you reach an audience? How do you sell? How do you create funnels for that topic and that kind of thing? But I just want to encourage everybody to go, hey, look, I'm not a $20 course creator. I'm not a $40 or a $50 course creator. My knowledge, my talent, my skills are worth a lot more. That doesn't mean we knock down Udemy, because right now it happens to be the best game in town, right? But it does mean that we are looking and seeing and searching for that next level stuff where we can put our courses and we can really benefit the most.
Yeah, and that idea really kind of hit home with me when I launched my latest course, which was something we did a blab about, the 30-day course launch blueprint that has worked really well for me. And I turned that into a course where every day there's a video that tells you exactly what you should do following my blueprint to launch your own course. And I promoted it, launched it last week, did really well on Udemy, sold it for $15. If you make one more sale because of the techniques that I teach you in that course, the course pays for itself. And so the value of that course and the value of the Amazon t-shirt course, now these are the make money online type courses, which tend to do well, but the value for those courses are so much more than $20 in the end. And so, and the potential value, because someone could take that course launch blueprint and make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on their next course launch. So I don't want to promote my course anymore though. And I just wanted to just wrap up the question and answer that Australia Wow asked about why use other platforms than your own. The ultimate reason is you have to do all of the marketing yourself if you're using your own platform. You do have more control, like Dave talked about, with pricing and the structure of your site, but you do have to market that all of your courses on your own, and that's a lot of work. So it's beneficial to grow an audience on your own site, and that's why Dave and I are both doing it as well, but we like putting our stuff on other marketplaces. Chad, I believe, asked too about using Thinkific versus Teachable because he's wanting to put together his own site. We're both on Teachable right now. We both have our course sites on Teachable. I think I would recommend doing Thinkific right now. They're a little bit more advanced. They're a little bit ahead of what Teachable has put out right now. Teachable is kind of catching up to all the features that Thinkific has. So I would go with Thinkific right now, but Teachable, they're very similar. They're very similar products.
Yeah, they're very similar, and I agree with Phil. If I were starting fresh today, I would start with Thinkific primarily because they have more marketing-based features. They're more well established. They've been around longer, and it just so happened that we discovered Teachable prior to discovering Thinkific, and it was just an easy way to get into moving our courses. They originally had that ability to import your Udemy courses automatically, which they don't have anymore. That helped a lot. So if I were starting fresh, I would go with Thinkific.